U.S. intelligence agencies have said Russian hackers stole thousands of emails from the Democratic National Committee and made them public, while also spreading misinformation in an attempt to help Mr. Trump beat Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Mr. Trump, however, has said he does not believe that Russia actively sought to help him. Congress and a special counsel, former FBI Chief Robert S. Mueller III, are heading separate investigations into whether Mr. Trump's campaign colluded with Russian agents during the campaign. Mr. Mueller's team recently brought indictments against Mr. Trump's former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, and a lower-level campaign aide in connection with that probe. There was no collusion, Mr. Trump said on the plane. Everybody knows there was no collusion. The president added that he was determined to enlist Moscow's help to end the civil war in Syria and to ramp up pressure on North Korea over its nuclear weapons program. He said the investigation into his campaign's ties with Russia could hurt those efforts. I think it's a shame that something like that could destroy a very important potential relationship between two countries that are really important countries, Mr. Trump said. He called a dossier compiled by a former British intelligence agent of alleged ties with Moscow that was later turned over to U.S. federal law enforcement authorities as phony. Many of the allegations have not been independently confirmed. This is really an artificial barrier that's put in front of us for solving problems with Russia, Mr. Trump said. Of Putin, he added, he says that very strongly, he really seems to be insulted by it, and he says he didn't do it. He is very, very strong in the fact that he didn't do it. You have President Putin very strongly, vehemently, says he has nothing to do with that. Now, you are not going to get into an argument, you are going to start talking about Syria and the Ukraine. Mr. Trump also cast blame on former President Barack Obama and Mrs. Clinton, who famously attempted a reset of U.S. relations with Russia in Mr. Obama's first term. Mr. Trump referred to Mrs. Clinton's stupid reset button, in which she presented Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov with an oversized reset button that erroneously used the Russian word for overcharged instead of reset. Hillary tried it, she failed, nobody mentions it, Mr. Trump said. She hit that reset button, it was a joke. But she tried and she failed. Mr. Trump said Mr. Obama had bad chemistry with Mr. Putin and that Mrs. Clinton was in way over her head. He did not answer when asked during the flight to Hanoi whether he believed Mr. Putin's denial of the tampering. Every time he sees me, he says, I didn't do that, Mr. Trump said, but I really believe that when he tells me that, he means it. I think he's very insulted by it and that's not a good thing for our country. The Russia investigation is an artificial democratic hit job that gets in the way, he added. It's artificially induced and that's a shame. White House aides had said before the APEC summit that Mr. Trump had no formal meeting scheduled with Mr. Putin, in part because of scheduling conflicts. They acknowledged, however, that it was possible the two leaders might chat if they bumped into each other. Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin shook hands at an APEC leaders' dinner on Friday and stood next to one another in a family photo of all leaders on Saturday. The U.S. president met Mr. Putin in the northern summer on the sidelines of the Group of 20 summit in Germany and also spoke extensively at a dinner at that event, a meeting White House officials did not disclose until after it was made public by Ian Bremmer, president of a global risk consulting firm. Washington Post. Sign up for our daily wrap of the news you need to start your day.